Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, May 13th. So, what are we going to be talking about today, guys? So, today I thought we'd touch on Mark's subject, and that is hourly versus flat rate. And this is going to be a group participation. It has to be because there's so many of you out there that have more experience in it than I do. But we're going to see where it ends up. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, May 13th of 2025. So what is exactly hourly rate and then what is flat rate? You kind of have to give definitions of each, right? Before you can get into discussing which one is best. Hourly is probably something that most of us have all done in our lifetime, and many of you are still doing in your lifetime. And that is you're guaranteed so many hours, right? So much an hour for every hour you work. And at the end of the week, you collect for a normal 40-hour week, your regular base pay. And then if you did anything above and beyond the 40 hours, that constitutes overtime, so you get paid time and a half for that. Exceptions are certain holidays and stuff where some companies pay double time. I've worked for companies that didn't even pay time and a half through holidays and stuff. So, what's flat rate? Flat rate has been used by the industry, not only in small engine repairs, but I think more so in the automotive sector. I talked with Claude about this here just the other day, and he was telling me that for most of his younger life, when he worked at the Chevrolet garage, he worked on flat rate. And that was the company, not the dealership, the company come out with this book that said, okay, on average, this is what it takes a qualified mechanic to get it done. And let's say 3 hours, okay? That's what that mechanic is going to get paid, is for 3 hours. If he's a smart mechanic and he's honed his skills and he can do it in an hour, he's going to get 2 hours free. And it's not free because he's now experienced. Take another mechanic that is fledgling and or slow learner, and if it took them 5 hours, they're going to go backwards because they're only going to get paid for 3. And a lot of mechanics, if the system is set up right, would rather be on flat rate if they have any kind of knowledge and background, right? There's probably more incentive to get stuff out of the shop on flat rate because that mechanic wants to get paid as much as possible, right? And a lot of shops bill based on flat rate. And when it comes to warranty work, that's what they're going to get paid for, is flat rate, is what the warranty company says this is about the allotted time it's going to take to do this, this, and this. If your mechanic takes more time than that, then it's going to cost your business, right? If you're paying your mechanic hourly and you're getting flat rate payments through the warranty company. See, it's all depends upon the people you have as mechanics. If you have self-motivators, guys and gals that really want to work and do a good job, either will work fine. But there are exceptions to the rule. You will have mechanics that are on hourly that can spend more time doing nothing than doing the actual job itself, or spend more time trying to get out of doing that job than doing the job itself. And they don't care because they're getting paid hourly, and it doesn't matter how many hours it takes to get it done. But it does the shop owner when they're trying to explain to the customer that they've got 7 hours of billable on a 3 hour flat rate job. And that does come into consideration. If that mechanic was flat rate, I guarantee you that they'd be knocking it out as fast as they can go. What are ways that flat rate can screw you if you're a mechanic? If you're a mechanic and you sign on as flat rate, whether it's for an automobile company, dealership, small engine repair, if you don't have a good parts guy, or if they're not able to source parts quickly, you will get screwed. But you won't get screwed. It just, you can only have so many things that you can work on at one time, right? And this is something that a friend of mine that ran a big tractor dealership told me. He said, you need to have something in all those bays at one time. You start at bay 1, do the tear down, find out what parts you need, order those parts, jump over to bay 2, start tearing that tractor down, try to find out what you need, get those ordered. Bay 3, start tearing it down, find out what you need for parts, get those ordered. By the time you get done at bay 3, those parts should be in for tractor 1 and bay 1. So you start putting tractor 1 back together, and by the time you get to tractor 2, those parts are in. You see what I'm saying? If you have a good mechanic and a good parts guy, it works out well for the mechanic. If you have a good mechanic and a bad parts guy or owner or whoever, and they're not getting the parts there on time, that's screwing the mechanic. If that mechanic is standing around doing nothing, they're not getting paid. See, so it's kind of like this, I think if all things were aligned, it would be better for the shop owner and the mechanic flat rate if you can get the parts there quick enough. If you can't, then the only fair thing you're going to be able to do is do hourly with your mechanic and find other stuff for him to do that isn't based on flat rate. You never know, pick up, drop offs, what have you, and not solely on it. As a shop owner, I looked at it, but I'm the type of person that says, if anybody's going to get screwed on the deal, let it be me. Whether it's my customer, my employees, myself, if anybody in that group is going to take the screwing, let it be me. And that's why I went with hourly. Hourly, so much, so many hours a week, here it is. And if we work over or we work an extra day, you get time and a half. Right now, I think it's even harder because trying to source parts quickly has gotten harder. And the simple thing about ordering parts on eBay or Amazon for the past, I would say 4 months, 5 months anyways, that used to take a couple of days are now taking a couple of weeks. And you're going to lose your mechanic. You are. If you got a good mechanic and you can't get the parts there in a reasonable amount of time to keep that man busy on more equipment that's coming in, more flat rate hours, he's going to leave you. Because he's going to want a minimum of 40 hours for the week. Well, what happens if he knocks out flat rate on in 4 days, 5 days work? If you're working a 5-day, 8-hour shift, then he does. Well, you're going to say, well, that's not fair. He's putting the screws to the shop. No, he's not, because if you're billing by flat rate, you're also helping your customer and yourself and your mechanic. If your mechanic exceeds and delivers, then you're going to get paid. Your mechanic or your customer is going to be happy because it's getting in, getting out in a fair amount of time. It's a win-win for everybody. And I don't mind paying a little bit more if I got more stuff coming through the door. So you get a choice. When it comes to hourly and fixed rate, I've seen mechanics on hourly take a week to do it. I've seen guys on fixed rate do in 4 hours. In 4 hours. But yet, this one was 40 hours. There's no incentive hourly to exceed. It has to come within. So if you got a so-so, but the careful thing you have to take into consideration, and I know Amos and Travis and anybody else that's out there can speak up, is you don't want a half-assed mechanic that pushes stuff out and says it's done and wants to get paid for it, and come to find out they toggled it and they didn't fix it correctly. That's worse than shooting yourself in the foot. If you're having a lot of redos, it may be time to take consideration of who you have for a mechanic, and is it worth keeping that mechanic? Or is it worth looking for somebody else and getting rid of that person? Because this day and age, you don't need a rocket scientist to be a mechanic. It used to be years ago, you had a mechanic, he could do engine rebuilds, he could do, transaxles, the hydrostatic transmissions, the peerless transmissions, all the other stuff in the small engine repair shop. None of that's being done now. None. The bulk of the work that's coming through is a general service. Sharpen the blades, which doesn't take a rocket scientist to do. Put tubes in tires or replace tires. But it's general maintenance. Anything that is hardcore is not being done anymore. So even you as a shop owner, me as a shop owner, there's nothing in that shop out there I can't do. I don't want to do. But you see where I'm going with this? You don't need a rocket scientist for a mechanic anymore. My son is a mechanic in the automobile industry, and you need to have some skills there, definitely. You need to know IT. You need to know how to use a laptop, programs. You need to be able to identify, and then yes, it's helping you pinpoint where it is, but you have to, because it's a computer operated system. Your truck and car is a computer. My truck downloads from a server somewhere when I turn my key off, and it says do not start for the next 10 minutes. Yay or nay. It's like yesterday. The same with my Ford. Sorry, we'll get off track. But my Ford has been having an issue with a parking brake failure, is what it says. So Claude took it off here 2 weeks ago and looked at it. And we tested it using a battery, and it was working fine. So we put it back on, and it's still flashing at you. Parking brake failure, please see. So now yesterday it starts dinging. It's driving me nuts. I hate things that just make a lot of noise. So my son, I told him, I sent him a text, and he's like, Dad, you need to get into the shop. He said, I'll find out what a cost is for a rear motor. There's a fault in it. It's already put it on the computer before. I know what the fault is. He said, we'll get it ordered, and it's going to cost you around $250 to have it installed and everything out the door. I said, order it. It's worth that just to get rid of the dinging noise. But that's what I mean. It's, if you're looking for highly qualified mechanics, what is the qualifications of it today for a small engine mechanic? The bar is not very high. And if anything, a lot of times if you can get somebody that has got the willingness to want to learn, you could teach that person how you want stuff done in your shop. You can. And there is not anything out there anymore that somebody doesn't have a YouTube video on showing you how to fix it, how to do it. I'm not saying that the bulk of them are the right way. I'm just saying there's videos out there that you can comb through to find the answer. So hopefully, Mark, that's kind of explained the skivvy. If I were a mechanic and I didn't have a good feeling on sourcing parts, I would rather be hourly. I wouldn't. I'm the type of person, I'm self-motivated. So I would be knocking it out like I was on a fixed rate. That's just my style. You know, I want to do a good job. Every job that I do, I want to do better than I did the job before. And I compete with myself, not anybody else. And that's why I climbed the ladder in so many different industries to supervise. You know, it's the willingness to learn. You know, and when I used to work at the mines, underground mining, used to be years prior, if you were a loaderman, that was your only job. And if you were an electrician, that was your only job. If you were a utility, that was your only job. And when I went underground, one of the bosses higher up said to me, if there's anything that you want to learn, speak up. Speak up, and we will train you on it. Because they knew I picked things up quickly. And my comeback was, I'll learn anything and everything you want me to learn. Because to me, it made me feel like I was probably going to be the last person to get let go, hopefully, because I could jump onto any piece of equipment. I run underground loaders. I fixed pipe bent tubing for years. I hopped on single boom, double boom jumbos, drills, and did headings. I did long hole where it was 200-foot shots straight down and did patterns. There wasn't anything underground, even tramming with or best way to describe it is like a miniature railroad company underground. It was a diesel locomotive. And you'd run it out and fill it and then take it up to the dumping station, flip the gate so that it air operated, opened up the chute. And as each car went by, it would dump automatically, and then you pull it back through, shut the thing, and go back and get another load. There was nothing there. I worked on the surface in the mill, worked my way from mill utility up to operator. Again, it's because they gave me the gift of anything you want to learn, Eric, we will teach you. And I was open and receptive to it. And I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. I thrived on it. And I didn't go on to the next until I had that part of the job where I was doing it exceptionally well before I asked to try something else. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Post in the comments, guys. I know I'm missing a lot when it comes to flat rate and fixed rate and hourly rate. You guys that have dealt with flat rate, I know it's flat rate was based off warranty work, but our shop, 99% of the stuff that comes through that people say should be warranty or not warranty. If it's not defective from the manufacturer, it's not warranty. If you're sliding it through, I guess that's your shop, right? You guys have a great day.